Okay, so if you've ever been right in the thick of launching a startup, you know that feeling, right? It's just this whirlwind. You're juggling product development, you're chasing funding, trying to land those first crucial customers. It's intense, pure focus, pure adrenaline. But we see this happen a lot. Founders get so locked in on the product, they forget something massive, their most valuable intangible asset, really, the brand itself. So today, we're going to deep dive into that foundation, how you actually secure your brand. We're talking trademarks, the names, the logos, those taglines. Our mission here is to give you a kind of strategic shortcut, the knowledge you need now for long-term growth, and importantly, how to dodge those really costly disputes. Those things could just completely sink a young company.
They really can. That security, it's just fundamental. If you're looking at trademarks as just, oh, some optional legal thing, well, you're missing the bigger picture. These are business assets, proactive ones. Think about it, your brand identity. That's the shortcut for customers finding you, trusting you, telling their friends about you. And for startups, the stakes are incredibly high. If you don't lock down that brand early on, you're basically leaving the door wide open. Competitors, infringers, they can just swoop in, capitalize on your goodwill, confuse your customers, trash your reputation. I mean, in the startup world, every dollar counts. Every customer impression is a battle. Not acting on this, the risks can be devastating. Seriously.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning then. The name, because the name you pick, well, legally, it already sets the stage for how easy or how hard protecting it is going to be. Right, let's unpack this a bit. There's a pretty significant legal hurdle here, isn't there? You can't just call your company, say, the best coffee shop and expect to trademark that.
Exactly. Or, call your dairy brand just milk.
Right. Those descriptive terms or generic words. The law wants to keep those free for everyone to use.
Yeah.
So trying to register them, it's tough, maybe even impossible.
Difficult, definitely.
So the bottom line for startups, you've got to aim for names that are unique, memorable, and really distinctive. That distinctiveness, that's like the gold standard in trademark law.
It absolutely is. And that distinctiveness falls along what we call the spectrum of strength. If you choose a name that's higher up on that spectrum, well, your chances of getting it registered and having strong legal protection go way up.
Okay, so what's at the top? What are the strongest types?
Well, at the very top, the strongest marks legally. First, you have fanciful marks. These are completely made-up words.
Like Kodak.
Exactly like Kodak. They have no other meaning, so they point directly, instantly to your product. Legally. Very powerful. Second, you've got arbitrary marks. These are real words, but they're used for something totally unrelated.
Like Apple for computers.
Precisely. The word exists, but not in that context. Still very strong.
And the third category?
Those are suggestive marks. They kind of hint at what the product or service does, but they don't outright describe it.
Ah, like Netflix, maybe. Suggesting movies online.
You got it. Netflix is a great example. Now, what's interesting here is the trade-off. Kodak, the fanciful mark, is legally bulletproof, right? But think about a new startup. Using an arbitrary name like Apple, maybe that's actually easier to launch.
How so?
Well, people already know the word Apple. You don't have that huge marketing hurdle of teaching everyone what Kodak means from scratch. It can save a lot on initial marketing spend,
That makes a lot of business sense. Okay, but let's get practical. You've brainstormed, you've landed on one of these strong names, maybe a logo too, you're excited. What is the absolute must-do critical step before you launch anything?
The trademark clearance search, full stop.
Yeah.
Non-negotiable. Before you print a single business card, before you spend a dime on that website, you have to vet that name. You have to.
Why is it so crucial?
Think of it like financial insurance against having to rebrand down the line. We see it happen. Startups pour hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, into building awareness around a name, only to get a nasty letter saying some company 3 states over already uses it, maybe even has a federal registration.
Ouch. That sounds like a nightmare scenario.
It is. An early search costs money, yes, but it avoids that potentially catastrophic cost, the hit to your reputation of having to completely rebrand later. It's risk management, pure and simple.
Okay, that's a perfect lead into the next big challenge, filing smart. Because, okay, we found a great name, it's clear, but now we need to protect it. And startup budgets are, well, tight.
Yeah, acknowledged. Startups often run on fumes, don't they? So strategic prioritization is key. You have to be smart about it. The rule of thumb, protect the essentials first. Meaning your main company name or maybe your flagship product name, whatever the customer sees and interacts with most. Those are your crown jewels initially.
Okay, start there.
Right. But then, as you grow, you got to think bigger. We mentioned expanding protection later, maybe to logos, taglines, and even something more sophisticated like trade dress.
Well, hold on. Trade dress, that sounds pretty advanced. For a founder just starting out, what even is that? Is it just the look of the packaging, the shape of the product itself?
It can be both, actually.
And should I really be spending precious cash trying to protect, like, the unique shape of my juice bottle when I'm still figuring out product market fit? Seems like maybe overkill early on.
That's a really fair question. It touches on how sophisticated branding protection can get. So, trade dress. It's basically the total image, the overall look and feel, the commercial impression your product or service makes. It could be size, shape, color combinations, textures, even specific sales techniques sometimes. But the key is it has to be distinctive.
Like the Coke bottle shape.
Exactly. That unique hourglass shape is classic trade dress. Now, you're right. You probably won't prioritize filing for trade dress on day one. But let's say your startup takes off because of that unique, really recognizable bottle shape. Protecting it becomes critical down the road. It stops competitors from making something that looks confusingly similar. It's a major advantage, especially in consumer goods.
Fascinating. Okay, so we've talked about what to protect, prioritizing the name first, maybe trade dress later. Let's pivot to how. Because in the U.S., things are a bit different, right? Our sources say rights actually come from using the mark.
That's right. In the U.S., unlike many other countries, trademark rights fundamentally arise from use of the mark in commerce, selling goods or services under that name.
But, and this is where it gets really interesting, I think, just using it isn't the whole story. Getting that federal registration with the USPTO, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, that seems to be the power move.
Oh, absolutely. It transforms everything. When you just use a name locally, you often only get common law rights. Meaning, protection is usually limited to the specific geographic area where you're actually doing business. So if you're only selling in California, your rights might stop at the state line.
Ah, okay.
But federal registration, that does several crucial things for a growing business. First, it gives you nationwide priority. Basically, rights across the whole country against anyone who starts using a similar mark after your filing date. Second, it creates a legal presumption, a very strong one, that you are the rightful owner of the mark. And third, maybe most importantly for enforcement, it gives you access to federal courts to sue infringers anywhere in the country.
That's the legal muscle you need, right?
Yeah.
Especially if some bigger company starts using your name on the other side of the country.
Exactly. And it's also a powerful deterrent.
How so?
Well, think about it. Smart companies, before they launch a new brand, they search the USPTO database. If they see your mark registered there, clearly protected, often that's enough to make them back off before you even know they were considering it. It stops problems before they start.
That makes sense.
And one more thing on filing. For startups dreaming big, thinking globally, which, let's face it, is a lot of tech startups these days, you have to remember trademarks are territorial.
Meaning U.S. registration only covers the U.S.?
Precisely. It does nothing for you in Europe or Asia or South America. If you have global ambitions, customers, or even manufacturing overseas, you need to think about filing in those key international markets early. There are systems like the Madrid Protocol that can help streamline that, but you need a strategy.
Okay, so filing the core name federally is step one. But then the really savvy companies, they build out a portfolio. What does that involve? It sounds like more than just the main name and logo.
It is. It's about thinking strategically, long-term. A trademark portfolio isn't just one registration. It's a collection of all the brand elements that distinguish your company.
So what goes in there?
Your main name and logo, yes, but also maybe key slogans or taglines, names for different product lines or features, maybe even filing for names of products that are still in development, locking them down early.
Getting ahead of the game.
Exactly, and potentially those other distinctive things we talked about, maybe a signature color if it functions as a brand identifier, a unique sound mark, or that trade dress for packaging.
So the strategic benefit is really locking down the entire brand world you're building, aligning the legal protection with your actual business growth plan.
Perfectly put. It aligns your legal assets with your business vision. And that leads right into the next critical piece, something founders often neglect after they get that registration certificate.
What's that?
Active monitoring and enforcement. Registration is fantastic, it's foundational, but it's not set it and forget it.
You can't just frame the certificate and relax.
Unfortunately, no. To keep that brand strong, to maintain its value, you have to actively watch the marketplace.
Watch for what? Like copycats.
Exactly. Potential infringement. You need eyes out there.
Okay, but what does that monitoring actually look like? Checking Twitter handles.
That's part of it, yeah. Checking social media for confusingly similar names or handles, monitoring e-commerce sites like Amazon or Etsy for counterfeits or knockoffs, watching domain name registrations for cyber squatters, even keeping an eye on official trademark filings here and maybe abroad to see if someone's trying to register something too close to yours.
Wow, okay. That sounds like it could be a full-time job in itself. If I'm running a lean startup, does this mean I need to constantly have expensive lawyers on retainer just fighting battles?
Not necessarily, no. There are watch services, some automated tools that can help flag potential issues cost-effectively, but the absolute key is quick action when something pops up.
So jump on it fast.
Yes. And the reassuring thing for a startup is that enforcement doesn't automatically mean launching into some massive, expensive lawsuit. Often, especially if you catch it early, a well-drafted cease and desist letter pointing to your registration and clearly outlining the infringement can be incredibly effective. It shows you're serious and often solves the problem quickly and relatively cheaply.
Like fixing a small hole in a fence before it becomes a huge gap.
That's a great analogy, exactly. Protect your boundaries early and consistently.
So ultimately, all this effort, choosing carefully, filing strategically, monitoring actively, it all loops back to something really fundamental, doesn't it? The actual value of the business.
Absolutely. Strong, well-protected trademarks add enormous tangible value to your startup.
And this isn't just some vague goodwill concept, right? These are actual assets.
Hard assets. They can be leveraged in multiple ways. You can license your trademark out, let other companies use it for a fee, generating recurring revenue.
Like a character on a lunchbox.
Sort of, yeah. Or think about a technology brand licensing its name for use on related accessories made by others. You can also franchise your business model where the brand is central. And critically, trademarks can be sold, sometimes as part of the whole company, sometimes even as standalone assets.
Right, like we saw with Michael's buying Joanne's IP, their brand assets, even after the stores closed. That brand name still had value.
Precisely. Imagine a small food tech startup secures a really unique, catchy name for a new plant-based ingredient. They could potentially license that name and logo to huge food manufacturers globally. That creates a whole revenue stream separate from actually making the ingredient themselves.
Wow.
And when it comes time for funding rounds or maybe an acquisition offer, having that clear, secured, enforceable portfolio, it speaks volumes.
Also.
It just demonstrates professionalism, foresight. It tells investors or potential buyers that you own your market identity. There's less risk for them. That reduction in perceived risk often translates directly into a higher company valuation, significantly higher sometimes. It's the proof of that intangible asset you built.
Okay, powerful stuff.
So just to quickly recap the core message here for everyone listening, trademarks.
Yeah.
They are not optional legal paperwork you deal with later. Not at all. They are foundational business assets. They actively shape your identity, build your reputation, and drive your company's value truly from day one.
So the key actions.
Right. 4 key strategic moves. First, choose a strong, distinctive brand right at the start. Second, do that clearance search and file for registration early. Don't wait. Third, prioritize SMART based on your budget core name first, then expand. And fourth, actively monitor and enforce your rights. Protect that asset.
Okay. And maybe as you're thinking about your own brand's foundation after listening to this, here's a final thought, kind of building on what we've discussed. We know distinctiveness is the key to getting legal protection, right? So what overlooked element of your business, maybe it's that little sound your app makes, or a specific color palette you always use, or even that unique packaging style we touched on, could that be registered right now? Could that become your next valuable, legally protected trademark that competitors simply can't copy? That's the real power, isn't it? Thinking beyond just the name and logo to lock down your entire sensory brand identity makes you think.